Okay, so again, this is all the level 4. These are the challenging questions. These are questions that will not look the same on the test. They will be different because a level 4 means that you can do it on your own. You have developed that competence level. Okay, so I would suggest trying these on your own and then seeing how I solved it and seeing if maybe you came up with a different answer, because a lot of these have multiple answers. So find a number that when added to 7 plus 6i gives a real number that is not 0. So we need it to be real and we need it to be not 0. So we're going 7 plus 6i plus something equals something plus 0i. Because to be on the real number line, you can't be in that coordinate plane with anything imaginary and imaginary components. So really all we have to do is figure out something that makes this add up to 0i, which would be negative 6i. And then you would have 7 plus 0i. So negative 6i would be one of those such numbers. You could also have 4 minus 6i, because then you would have 7 plus 4 is 11 plus 0i, so it would just be 11. Okay. So find the quotient. The easiest way to find the quotient is to multiply by the complex conjugate of the denominator. And so we take this number down here and we flip the sign in the middle, flip the sign of the imaginary component, so it would be 4 plus 3i. And we multiply it by the bottom, and we multiply it by the top, because that's just multiplying by 1. And then we just multiply the top. So we go 4 times 4 is 16. And then we go 4 times 3i is 12i. And another 12i for 3i plus 4. And 3i plus times 3i would be 9i squared. And then in the denominator, we've got 4 times 4 is 16. And then we've got minus 12i and plus 12i and minus 9i squared. Again, I squared is negative 1. So what that does to this is that makes this a minus 9 and this a plus 9. These two cancel. So we've got 16 plus 9 on the bottom is 25. And on the top, we've got 16 minus 9 is 7 plus 24i. And you're done. That's the answer. Although, if you wanted to, if you wanted to write it as a plus bi, you can write it as 7 25ths plus 24 25ths I. So if you were to graph that, that's how you would graph that. Okay. Carlos and Clarita, we all love Carlos and Clarita, want to design a rectangular Salem Hills High School logo that is 5 inches wider than it is tall. They would like the area of the logo to be 204 square inches. So they're going to make this rectangular logo, and they want it 5 inches wider than it is tall. So I'm going to call the height the x, and this would be x plus 5. So this would be x times x plus 5. And they want it to be exactly 204 square inches. So that would mean it's an equation, not an inequality. If they wanted it to be bigger or smaller, we could there use our inequality signs, less than or greater than. So we've got x times x plus 5 equals 204. So if I'm going to solve this equation, I'm going to try to get it so it's either in factored form equal to 0, or it's not in factored form, and I can get it somewhere. So I've got x squared plus 5x equals 204. I'm going to minus 204 on both sides. X squared plus 5x minus 204 is equal to 0. So I can complete the square. I can use quadratic formula. I can do almost anything from this point. And so I would probably use the quadratic formula, and I would go negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 1 times negative 204 all over 2. And I put that top part into my handy dandy calculator. So I've got 25 minus 4 times 1 times negative 204. And I get 841. So I've got negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 841 divided by 2. So I'm going to actually square root 841, get a good estimate here because that's all I really care about. So it's 29. It does come out exact. I realize that. So I've got negative 5 plus or minus 29 over 2. So negative 5 plus 29, that's 24 over 2, which is 12. And the other one would be negative 34 over 2, which is negative and doesn't make much sense in the context, so I'm going to ignore it. So I've got x is 12 inches, so it would be 12 inches and 17 inches. Okay, the volume of a right cone can be calculated by using the formula v equals 1/3 pi r squared h. And it asks us to solve for this number r. So we're trying to get r alone. So I go, okay, v equals 1/3 pi r squared h. If I can get r by itself, I'll win. So I'm going to multiply by 3 to get rid of that 1/3. So I've got 3v equals pi r squared h. I'm going to divide by pi and h, because that would cancel out this pi and that h. So I've got 3v over pi h equals r squared. And then square root to get rid of the squared. So I'd go, the radius would be equal to the square root of 3 times the volume divided by pi h. Then it asks me to do the same thing for h. I can actually start back at this step right here. 3v equals pi r squared h. And then I'm going to divide by pi and r squared, which is the area of a circle. So I've got h equals 3 times the volume divided by the area of the circle pi r squared.